Hello friends, welcome to this YouTube video program. In my earlier programs, we have discussed about different aspects of research methodology for conducting educational research. You see, I have already discussed that four different aspects like the specific method of study or the research design is a part of research methodology. Then the specific tools and techniques that the researcher will use for collect data, that will also another aspect or another part that's come under the research methodology. Then the third part is the population sample and sampling technique. Okay, what will be the population of the study, what will be the area of the study, and what sample size the researcher will select for conducting the study, and how the sample, what techniques will be used for selecting that sample from the population for conducting the study. Means the technique of sampling is also another aspect, or you can say another important point that's come under research methodology, which is very much important for conducting educational research. Then the fourth aspect that's come under research methodology, that is statistical techniques used for data analysis. Means you have used certain tools and certain techniques, maybe a questionnaire, maybe interview schedule, maybe observation, maybe a type of scale, rating scale, okay, a type of checklist. So that data you have received, you have collected in your research, how to analyze that data, how to interpret that data. So as a researcher, you will be using certain statistics, maybe a descriptive statistics, maybe inferential statistics, for analyzing that data. So statistical techniques used for data analysis is also one of the important aspect. So friends, you see, as you have already discussed the specific methods of study and design, we have discussed the philosophical method, historical method, descriptive research method. Then we have also discussed different experimental design in our earlier video programs. Today we will discuss the another aspect that's come under the research methodology, that is population, sample and sampling technique. So friends, today in this program, we will try to get the answer of the questions like what is a population and sample, what is a population, then we will also discuss that what is a sample. Then what is the importance of sampling in a research. Okay, so why there is a need to take a sample in a research, whether without taking a sample, whether we can conduct a study or not. So what is the importance, what is the need of it? So we will try to get the answer of this question through our discussion. Then again we will discuss what is the concept of a probability sampling method and a non-probability sampling method. So on the basis of probability and non-probability sampling method, how can we differentiate different types of sampling? So our today's program will focus upon these questions. So friends, first try to understand that what is a population. You see, the very concept of population, we can call that population is an universe. So here universe means is a large entity. It's a large entity. So when we talk about the universe, it means it focuses upon a very large area. Its number may be very high. Okay, maybe in thousands, maybe in crores, maybe in millions. Okay, so means the size is very large. It's a vast area which covers a vast area. Then you can say when we talk about the concept of population, it may be human or non-human entities. It includes both human and non-human entities. So now we should understand that what is a human entity and what is a non-human entity that we use especially especially research in education. You see, when we talk about the human entity, in educational research means it deals, it may be the students, it may be the teachers, it may be the parents, it may be the community members, it may be the principals, it may be the educationist. Okay, so mostly we focus our research upon such type of human entities. So they are the subject of our research, or they are the sample of our research. So they are the population of our research. Then we can also conduct certain study taking the non-human entities. We should now understand that what is non-human entities. You see, non-human entities means many a time we conduct a study in any school, in any educational institute, to know their status, okay. So when we talk about a school, to know the status of the school, we must have focused upon that, what is the infrastructure, okay, how many classrooms are there, what is the size of the classroom, and what are the facilities are available in the classroom, whether smart classroom facilities is there or not. And we also other things also cover, just like the lab facilities, the library, if library is there, how many books are there, and what are the nature of different books, and what is the number of different books. So friends, when we talk about the population, it may be a human population or it may be non-human entities of the population. It covers in educational research. Then again, to define population, we can say that it may be a finite number or infinite number. We should understand that what is a finite number of population and what is an infinite number of population. So you see, when we when the researcher is able to list and able to count the size of the population, we can say that this is a finite population. Let us example, all the secondary school teachers, those are teaching in different government schools of South Delhi district. So here I am focusing one area, that is the South Delhi district. This is one of the district in the state of Delhi. Okay, so again I am focusing upon the government school, that is also secondary schools, means those are teaching in class 9th and class 10th. In South Delhi district, all the government teachers, those are teaching in class 9th and 10th. So what you can do as a researcher, you can list their name, you can count their numbers also. Let 1000 teachers are there, okay, 1500 teachers are there, 2000 teachers are there. So when we talk about their number, when we are able to count their number so far as their area is concerned, okay, so we can say that this population is a finite population. But many a time we conduct research taking the infinite population. Infinite population means when the researcher is not able to count it. So we can take very general example. When I say let the stars in the sky, okay, the stars in the sky, you cannot count it. The fishes in the river, the fishes in the ocean, you cannot count it. So many a time, you see, your population is a type of abstract nature, okay, and many a time you will find that the crops production in a year in a country, whether you can count the crops. So many a time it is not possible also. So that's why this is the nature, this is the characteristics of a population, that some population is countable, that's called as the finite population, and many a time you will find certain population which is not countable, or we can say that is the infinite population. Again, another concept of population, that population may be a concrete population or it may be abstract population. We should understand that what is a concrete population, what is abstract population. So concrete population means to whom we can meet, to whom we can see, okay, we can meet, we can talk. Just like when we are talking about the teachers, the students, educational institutions, the schools, the villages, parents, okay, and the infrastructure in any institute. So that's come under the concrete population. Means we can define the population, we can meet the population, we can administer our tools upon that population. Okay, and many a time you will find that the population, the nature of population is abstract. You will find that many a time certain ideas, people believe on certain ideas, they have certain opinions and they have certain ideas. So you do not know that how many ideas are there with the people. Okay, so this can only be possible when you meet the people, discuss with them, interact with them, and when you try to extract their opinion from them, when you try to get their ideas upon any issues of education. So that's why when we talk about the ideas, opinions, we can say that there is no limitation of the ideas and opinions. And these things are not visible also. So that's why this is some extent abstract population. Okay, that you cannot see, you cannot count, you cannot number it. So that's why some this is the nature of the population, that some population is concrete and some are abstract. So friend, after discussing the concept of population, as in this session we will discuss the concept of population and sample, let us now try to discuss that what is a sample. You see, a small unit drawn from a population is called as a sample. So what you are saying, let there is a population of a huge number, and from that large number, when you are selecting a sample, taking certain small units, maybe in hundreds, maybe in 200s, you can say that is a sample. Means a small unit drawn from the population is called as a sample. And again, you see, there is a population of let 2000 in number, 5000 in number. We can draw many samples from a particular population, from one population, from a single population. So there is the possibility. Okay, let first sample is of 100, then you can draw another sample is of another 100. So n number of samples you can draw from a single population. Then again we can say that if population and sample characteristics are same, we call this is a good sample. What is a good sample? We can say that this is a good sample when the characteristics of a population and characteristics of a sample is same, is equal. Okay, so that sample is a good sample when all the characteristics of the population are representing in the sample, reflecting in the sample, involved in the sample. So that's why the equivalence nature of sample and population characteristics is called as a good sample. So unless all the characteristics are represented through the sample, then you cannot say that the population, your sample is a good sample. So here characteristics may be in terms of age, in terms of gender, in terms of there any psychological trait. Okay, so what are any demographic variable also, some are from the rural, some are from the urban. So in all respect, a sample should represent the population, and a sample will represent the population when all the characteristics of the population will be reflected in the sample. Then you can say that this is a good sample. So friends, as I have already said that from a definite population, from a definite countable population, you can draw more than one sample. You can draw n number of sample. Just like let us take an example. Let your population size is 1000, okay, and you want to draw a sample of 100. Out of 1000, you have to draw 100. So what you will do? By using any sampling technique, by using the random sampling technique, you can list down the name of 1000 population starting from serial number 1 to serial number 1000. Okay, then randomly you have to draw 100, any 100. Okay, so that will be the first set of population. Then second, what you will do, again you can draw another 100. Third time you can draw another 100. So accordingly, n number of samples can be drawn from a single population. So that's why this is also possible. Then again, you see, when you are drawing more than one population, one sample from a particular population, then there is the possibility that some unit of first sample from the same population may be the common units may be the common elements of the second sample. Means there is certain intersection between sample 1 and sample 2 which is drawn from a particular population. Your population size was 1000 earlier, you have drawn a sample of 100, that is sample 1, then again you have drawn another sample, that is sample 2. The number of sample T is also 100, but when you are going through the units of the sample, 100 in the first sample, second 100 is the second sample, you are getting that 10, 20, 15, 30 units which are common. Okay, so that's why it is also possible that certain commonness is there, or certain common elements or common units are there in between the samples drawn from one population. Okay, so for avoiding the common units, there is certain technique. Further, when we will discuss the sampling technique, we will discuss it. Next, friends, let us try to discuss that what is the need of a sample in a research. If you will not if you will not draw a sample from the population, what is the problem? First of all, you see, research is a very systematic and scientific work. So this is a process oriented work. We always follow a defined process. We always follow certain steps, certain definite steps for conducting a research. So within the steps, within the process, one process is drawing a sample from a population. Okay, so you see, when we are drawing a sample from a population for conducting a research, definitely it saves our time. So because of paucity of time, what we do, we select a sample from the population. Okay, let our population is 5000 and it is not possible to cover the 5000 element for conducting 5000 unit for conducting our research. So what we are doing, we are selecting 200 or 500 or 10% or 50% for conducting our study. So it saves time. So because of paucity of time, we don't have enough time to cover every unit of the population, then we can conduct a study by taking a sample. You can say that this is cost effective also. When we are able to conduct a study taking small units of the sample, then definitely it is a cost effective. Okay, then technically it is well fit also. As I have already said, a good sample represents a population, means all the characteristics of the population that got reflected in the sample. So when it is reflecting properly, then technically it is fit also. Means we can say that we can generalize our result conducting by taking a sample. We can generalize the result upon the population because all the characteristics of the population are reflecting in the sample. So technically it is also well fit. Then it minimizes the variations in result also. So when you are using a probability sampling technique, then definitely the result that you will get, the sample mean and the population mean, this has been experimented, this has been tested, observed many a time that the population mean and sample mean are very close. Okay, so when you are using the random sampling technique, probability sampling technique, so that's why the variation of result is also minimized. And many a time we use the sampling technique because it is not possible, simply it is not possible to reach at the entire unit of the population. Many a time you will find that the population is abstract in nature. You are not able to list down the population. So unless you list down the population, that how many number of teachers are there, how many number of students are there, how many numbers of subjects are there, then how can you do your research? And many a time I was just talking about the abstract population, okay, which is in terms of or in forms of certain ideas, certain feelings, certain concepts, certain opinions. Okay, so how do you conduct a study? By doing by taking the population, because you cannot list out all these. So that's why for addressing all such issues, what do? We conduct a type of sampling. So that's why this is the need of conducting our research by taking a sample, and adequately when you are using a very good technique for selecting our sample, you will find that the results that you will get, definitely there will not be much difference between the sample mean and the sample result with the population result. So friends, today we discuss about the concept of a population and a concept of a sample and the importance of a sample for conducting research in education. In our next program, we will discuss about the concept of a probability sampling and non-probability sampling, and under probability and non-probability sampling, what are the specific sampling techniques are there that we often use for conducting educational research. Thank you.